What's up F1 fans, and welcome to the Backmarkers F1 Show channel. In this new video series, we're going to be looking at 5 essential thoughts from the recent race weekend. If you'd like more thoughts and analysis on the 2020 British Grand Prix, please visit our website www.tbmf1show.com for more extensive race coverage and additional content. With that said, let's look at my 5 thoughts from the 2020 British Grand Prix. Number 1. Will a tire change be necessary for next week? At the end of the 52 laps around the Silverstone circuit, a total of 5 drivers had tire-related incidents and/or failures. Hamilton, Bottas, Kvyat, Sainz, and Raikkonen all had their misfortunes with Pirelli rubber. For some like Bottas and Sainz, the timing was downright cruel with failures coming at the late stages of the Grand Prix. We haven't seen collective tire failures like this in quite a while, and it has definitely caught the eye of Pirelli ahead of next weekend's race at the exact same circuit. What concerns drivers and teams is that it was the white sidewall C1 tire which failed for many drivers. Next week's allocation is one step softer, so the hardest tire available to drivers will only be the C2. At the moment, Pirelli are not exactly sure what led to so many failures. It could be just the nature of the circuit with the high tire wear and very demanding track, but it could also be from debris from many incidents such as Kvyat's and Raikkonen's. Both incidents are suspected of causing both punctures as well. Mario Isola of Pirelli has said that they will need to conclude their investigation by Tuesday at the latest to be able to prepare for Sunday's 70th anniversary Grand Prix. Changing the tire compounds for the second race was a good move to shake things up for the same circuit. Forcing drivers into a two-stop strategy might make the race more entertaining than just the one-stopper that we just got this weekend. But if Pirelli finds that there's a significant concern with these compounds around the circuit, they might need to implement a stint limit with each set of tires to avoid more failures. At the end of the day, we want an exciting race with a variety of strategies, more pit stops and drama, but not at the cost of safety. Number 2. Mercedes even win on 3 wheels. Who needs 4 wheels to win a race anyways? Certainly not Mercedes in this 2020 car. And here I was just about to suggest that we make Mercedes race on 3 wheels in order to closen up the field. For the large majority of the British Grand Prix, Mercedes were alone out in front and neither a competing constructor in sight. Their qualifying advantage was downright astounding, and their nearest rivals were left in the dust hoping to be just within a half a second of the mighty W11s. Think about that. Verstappen and Red Bull would have just been happy to be within half a second of their nearest rivals. Shows you the state of Formula 1 in 2020. Then in the race, bad luck, or I guess good luck depending on who you cheer for, struck as Bottas picked up a puncture knocking him out of the points. Shortly thereafter, his teammate and race leader Lewis Hamilton suffered a similar tire issue and had to limp home with 3 wheels for the victory. Verstappen was charging from behind, but ultimately the gap was too large in the end. Fans online immediately were wondering, why did Red Bull pit Verstappen? He would have won the race had he stayed out. Well, that's certainly a possibility. Red Bull made the decision based on what they knew at the time and not what happened afterwards. But as Christian Horner revealed post-race, the decision to bring in Verstappen and still secure a podium was probably the right move. Horner stated, "The tire that came off the car had about 50 little cuts in it, so it's been through debris. If we'd stayed out, we could have lost a second position with the same failure as Lewis, Sainz, and Bottas. So it was right on the limit. We'll be grateful to get what we've got, rather than what we potentially lost." The decision to pit or not to pit is actually not the problem here at hand. The real issue at hand is how every team on the grid is miles off the pace of Mercedes, and how in their 7th consecutive year of domination, the gap has somehow gotten even bigger. Yes, Max Verstappen could have taken victory at the British Grand Prix, but it would have been a very lucky win indeed, and not a victory based on pace or merit. If Hamilton can race home half a lap on 3 wheels and still take victory, I think the other 9 teams need to point the finger at themselves and not steer away the blame to something else. Number 3. Vettel to Aston Martin a done deal? For a guy who has absolutely zero social media presence online, Sebastian Vettel seems to be making a lot more news off the track rather than on it in 2020. When it comes to the racing, his SF1000 certainly isn't a headline maker type of a car. To say that Vettel struggled all weekend would be quite the understatement. Lack of running on Friday, brake issues, and setup woes saw Vettel nowhere near the pace of rivals Renault and McLaren. Vettel's struggles were best highlighted when he locked up into Kopp's corner on lap 1, which even baffled F1 veteran Martin Brundle, who's never seen a car lock up into that corner before. With all the drama in the last few laps, some news surrounding Vettel's future might have flown under the radar. Post-race, Ted Kravitz of Sky Sports F1 reported that there is little doubt around the paddock that Sebastian Vettel will join Racing Point/Aston Martin for next season. He goes on to say that an announcement was expected before the weekend, but with Perez's positive COVID test, they postponed the announcement. He also stated that there's still some ongoing negotiations that are happening, which are due to be resolved in the next couple days or weeks. More fuel was added to the rumor fire after this video of an interaction with Lawrence Stroll and Sebastian Vettel surfaced in the paddock. Now, this innocent interaction between team owner and driver is by no means a confirmation of the rumor, but with somebody like Ted Kravitz reporting that members of the paddock believe the move is all but done, it certainly adds a little more validity to the rumor itself. In the end, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the coming days or weeks, but Vettel would like to make a decision sooner rather than later. If he does indeed move to Aston Martin for 2021, it would really shake things up in the driver market and put some drivers under the hot seat. Number 4. What happened to Racing Point? You have to feel for Racing Point a little bit after a very tough weekend in Silverstone. They had such high hopes for their home Grand Prix after a very strong finish in Hungary. With Sergio Perez forced out of his drive due to a positive COVID test, the team were up against it to find a replacement in less than 24 hours before FP1. Luckily, Racing Point were able to turn to a former employee in Nico Hulkenberg, who was more than willing to give up his croissants in a German cafe to go and drive an F1 car around one of the best circuits in the world. Racing Point and Hulkenberg worked long into the night, and remarkably were all ready to go just as FP1 started. And it seemed pretty promising on Friday as Hulkenberg was able to get up to the pace relatively quickly. De facto team leader Lance Stroll topped the timesheets in FP2 and also finished in the top 5 of the other practice sessions as well. But then it started to unravel in qualifying when Hulkenberg barely missed out on Q3 and Stroll only just made it into Q3 as he is set the same time as Pierre Gasly in 11th. Stroll ended up qualifying in P6, which was pretty disappointing considering where the team thought the car would be, but they had set the car up a little bit better for the race, so they expected better things on Sunday. When it came to the race, however, the pace never really materialized. Stroll struggled at the start and lost 2 places, and from then on just progressively fell back down the order to cling home a P9 finish. His teammate, on the other hand, never even made it to the grid. Nico Hulkenberg's F1 return is going to have to wait a little longer after a sheared bolt in the clutch housing unit did not allow the power unit to fire up. Therefore, Hulkenberg was not even allowed to start the race. It was a terrible turn of events considering some fans were even fantasizing about a Hulkenberg podium in the pink Mercedes. It's been a really strange year so far for Racing Point through 4 races. They've shown glimpses of being the 3rd best team in F1, but really haven't brought all the elements together for consistent performances. Does the Renault protest have anything to do with it? It's difficult to say, but it certainly doesn't help. Let's see what they can do in a week's time at the same track, but copying the 2019 Mercedes hasn't exactly yielded the results they were hoping for just quite yet. Number 5. Round of applause for Pierre Gasly. Which driver, do you ask, is the least talked about and most underrated so far in 2020? That would be AlphaTauri's Pierre Gasly. One can't help but look at Alex Albon's start to 2020 and see similarities to Gasly's short tenure at Red Bull. Since Gasly has returned to the junior squad, he's been nothing short of exceptional and has reproven his worth as a top Formula One driver. In 4 races so far, Gasly has 2 P7 finishes and put in some stellar qualifying performances. In an AlphaTauri that seems to be a little less competitive than last year's car, Gasly has kept the team afloat in the midfield battle. AlphaTauri sits 7th in the constructors' standings, but Pierre Gasly can be very, very proud of his British Grand Prix race. He'll be happy to finish P7 knowing he powered past a works Ferrari on true pace and managed to finish ahead of Alex Albon and the lone Racing Point. We don't know what will happen with Albon this season at Red Bull, but Pierre Gasly's done a remarkable job since being demoted. He could have easily taken a step back and hung his head in disappointment, but he's been able to achieve better results in a Red Bull B car than he actually did in the A car. He's a driver that hasn't been talked about too much this season, but deserves the recognition for his performances so far this season. So that'll do it for my 5 thoughts from the 2020 British Grand Prix, but now it's your turn. Head to the comments down below and let me know which thoughts stood out to you from this weekend's race. We'll be doing a full recap of the 2020 British Grand Prix in the days to come, so pay attention for that podcast. We'll also be dropping our power rankings coming later this week, and you can also expect a 70th anniversary Grand Prix preview to come near the end of this week before the race weekend. If you're new to this channel and you like what you see, give us a subscribe, like this channel, and share it with your friends. We always appreciate the support. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.